Hi, my dog lovers. Hi, this is Dr. Dobias here. Today, I'm presenting you with a new course on natural treatment and prevention of anal gland issues in dogs. If you live with a dog, it's only a matter of time and anal gland issues will arise. And my goal is to reduce any unnecessary pain and suffering in your dog's life. I hope you'll enjoy this material and that you will also share it with others. And if you have any questions, you can go to peterdobias.com and email us from there. And you can also find an article on the same topic on our website. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
The most common anal gland problems are anal gland inflammation and anal gland abscess or infection. Now, anal gland inflammation is very common in dogs because it expresses their general health. When it comes to abscesses or infections, they're just another stage or phase in the development of the disease, and it is also very common. Ideally, every dog should have his or her anal glands examined every 6 months. This is really important because no dog is immune to this problem. And I would like you to keep in mind that if you try to prevent disease, if you try to look after your dog in the best way possible before a problem happens, that's not only the least painful, problematic, but also the least costly. So I hope that you'll remember it and you can even put it in your calendar that you should have your dog's anal glands examined every 6 months. Now, some of you may be even daring to learn how to examine the anal gland yourself. Your veterinarian may be able to show you, and I find that there's no problem. If you have a set of or pair of gloves and a little bit of lubricant, you can examine the anal glands and they feel like little blisters at the very margin of the anus. So if you imagine a clock, the right anal gland is at 4 o'clock and the left anal gland is at the position of 8 o'clock. So again, 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, I usually just take my index finger and I insert it very gently with lubricated glove and then just kind of feel the anal gland. They should be nice and soft, depending on the size of your dog, obviously, but they should not be full, they should not be firm, they should feel like a blister. If you burn yourself and you have a blister, that's what a healthy anal gland should feel. It is okay if they're partially full. It is normal, and a healthy dog would express them once in a while. I remember that our dachshund, Gerda, when I was growing up, she used to get excited when we were going to the cottage and she would squeeze them, and then the car was very smelly. So dogs use their anal glands for scent glands, and also when they get excited, once again, they can express them. So this is not abnormal to smell the fishy smell once in a while, but if your dog is licking, if your dog is painful, if the anal glands are too firm or inflamed and sore, then obviously you should have them looked at more carefully and closely. In the course of working as a veterinarian for 30 years, I learned to see the connections between different health problems and different body parts. Now, in the conventional veterinary medicine, we learn to see medical problems as separate, or maybe there may be some causes, but generally we don't see the connections between, let's say, back and anal gland issues. Now, I've noticed, and there are some other disciplines such as Chinese medicine or chiropractics, that anal glands get very much affected by the lumbar area of your dog's spine, the sacral lumbar area. So if there is an injury or misalignment in the sacral lumbar area of the spine, then the anal glands, which are energetically adjacent or connected to this area, may start being problematic. Their tone may be a little lower, they may have a tendency to get inflamed, and it is super important for you to make sure that your dog's back is healthy. Now, you may think that your dog's back is healthy, but I would always recommend to have an experienced chiropractor or a veterinarian with chiropractic background to check your dog's back, because these misalignments can be very subtle, but energetically they can have a huge impact on your dog's overall health and also the anal glands. Another factor that plays an important role in your dog's anal gland health is diet. Kibble is one of the most common problems in diet in dogs. In human medicine, we generally accept that processed food is not good for us. And in veterinary medicine, we still live in the world where most people believe that kibble is absolutely fine. Now, kibble is one of the primary causes of anal glands issues. Not only that the ingredients are of questionable quality, that we don't know whether they come from areas where there's heavy toxin and heavy metal load, pesticide use. Obviously, pet food companies try to cheap out on quality of ingredients, or not always, but most commonly. When you grind up ingredients and you heat them and process them heavily, you have virtually no way of determining what the ingredients were. Now, if you feed your dog kibble, they absorb water, and then during the digestion process, they become very, very soft. Now, the feces of a dog that is on kibble is very sloppy, very soft in most dogs. And this decreases the ability of the feces to kind of express and massage the anal glands during bowel movement. So this is important to remember, that kibble is not only questionable on the level of quality of the ingredients and toxin level, but also the consistency and texture is actually one of the primary causes why dogs on kibble have anal gland issues more frequently. So remember that if you want your dogs to have anal glands that are healthy and functioning, you have to feed species-appropriate diet made of either raw meat or cooked meat and raw bones. Now, when you know that back and spinal muscle injuries and unhealthy diet are part of causing the anal gland problems, you also have to address the liver. Liver is a very important detox organ, and if you consider the fact that anal glands are part of the detox system of the body, obviously they're very closely connected to the liver. So I find that dogs that have liver issues, that have high toxicity, that have somewhat compromised liver, have more likely a chance to have anal gland inflammation, abscesses, and infections. So if your dog has repeated anal gland problems, you have to address the liver, because toxin buildup, heavy metals, and liver disease can negatively impact the anal gland function. I did mention before that kibble is one of the reasons for your dog to have soft stool, but there are some other reasons. Inflammatory bowel disease, diarrhea, lack of raw bones that make the food or the diet and bowel movement firmer may make the feces too soft for the anal glands to be emptied regularly and thoroughly. So if your dog has soft stool, whether it's kibble related, or if he has inflammatory bowel disease, or if there are parasites or some other causes of frequent diarrhea or soft stool, you have to address it, because without your dog having relatively firm stool, and it should be firmer than, let's say, in humans or horses and cows, his or her anal glands will not be emptying properly. Obesity and lack of exercise is another reason for the anal glands to get inflamed or not empty correctly or properly. If you think of the anal glands, they're positioned right by the anus, and if there's excessive fat due to obesity or lack of exercise that leads to obesity, then the anal glands will not be squeezed and expressed as easily. Basically, the fat around the anal glands prevents the emptying. Now, I know that we all love our dogs, and I know that most of us like to express the love for our dogs through feeding them good food and a lot of food. And if you have any Italian heritage, or if you just love to express your love for your dog through food, remember that ideally you should be able to feel the ribs and count them. If you cannot count your dog's ribs, that means that you're most likely feeding too much food. I usually recommend feeding once or twice a day. On the level of toxin elimination, it's much better for dogs to eat just once a day. But if you do feed twice a day, once again, make sure that you feel your dog's ribs and that you can count them. If you cannot count them, that means that you have to reduce the food by about 20%, reassess your dog's body condition in 2 to 3 weeks, and again, reduce a little more if your dog has not been losing weight. Just to summarize, the main causes of anal gland problems are back and spinal issues, unhealthy diet, liver issues, soft stool, and obesity and exercise. Now, if you want to address your dog's anal glands and prevent recurrent chronic problems or even acute infections or abscesses, What you need to do, you need to address all these issues. And that's what we are going to be talking about next. So let's talk about conventional anal gland treatment first, because you should understand what your veterinarian, if he is conventional, is most likely going to do, and how this affects your dog and the anal gland treatment outcome. Now, I have the experience of conventional approach to treatments, but also a holistic or more natural approach to treatment, and I would like to compare those two today. One of the most common approaches of treating anal gland inflammation and abscesses is prescription drugs. In conventional medicine, we use antibiotics for addressing bacteria and inflammation, while often the other causes that I mentioned before are not really addressed. Now, anti-inflammatory and pain control drugs are also used, and unfortunately, they affect the liver function, they affect the kidney function, and their long-term effect is actually undesirable. If you go to any safety data sheets and inserts, drug inserts of the most common drugs, such as Metacam and others, you will see that these drugs may give your dog a temporary relief, but the price is often very high. I've seen quite a few dogs actually ending up with kidney disease or liver disease, especially the middle-aged and senior dogs when they're a little more fragile, after being given a prescription of anti-inflammatory drugs. So this is super important to remember that drugs have always side effects. Now, when it comes to antibiotics, the other problem is that overuse of antibiotics leads to bacterial resistance. So when we really need them and when we really need to rely on them in serious infections, then they don't work. So it's always better to find methods that are drug-free. And this is something that does not happen very often in conventional medicine, because the whole system is tied into the pharmaceutical industry. The industry really makes sure that doctors are educated in their way and that the other methods are not really taught at most veterinary schools. Now, beside prescription drugs, catheter or drain is often used to make sure that there is no buildup of pus or infection within the anal gland that is already affected. Now, my experience is that anal gland catheters or drains are overused. Imagine having some sort of rubber tube around your little sensitive part. That would not be very pleasant. And I always try to reduce the anal gland drains to minimum if I treat dogs with anal gland abscesses. They may cause additional discomfort. They are a foreign body in the area and they can irritate. Sometimes we can avoid them, sometimes we can't. So it really depends on the severity. And you can always ask your veterinarian to see if he or she can treat the anal gland abscess conservatively without a drain, just expressing and flushing and cleaning. And if it does come back, then it may be an indication that a little more involved surgery and inserting the drain may be needed. Now, squeezing or emptying the anal glands is an important part of either conventional or holistic treatment. There is a slight difference in how we deal with cleaning or expressing the anal glands. In holistic medicine, we try not to empty the anal glands manually or by fingers too frequently, because if you do that, the anal glands become kind of lazy and they don't function as well. But it is super important for you to have your dog's anal gland examined, assess them, and if they're really full and if they appear to be firm or slightly inflamed, inflammation can be reduced by emptying and squeezing the anal glands. Sometimes the discharge can be a little thicker than normal, and in that case, it is really important to get the discharge out and squeeze them. Now, if you attempt to learn to squeeze the anal glands on your own without veterinary help, you can do that, but I would recommend you talking to your veterinarian. He or she can instruct you how to express or milk or squeeze the anal glands gently. Think about it this way. The opening is just at the very margin of the anus. And if you squeeze the opening too hard, then the anal glands will not empty. So it's super important to reach with your index finger inside and squeeze them from the back out and make sure that you don't obstruct the opening of the anal gland. So once again, if you do have a wish, or if you want to look after your dog's anal glands on your own. It's possible if you have a liberal or open-minded veterinarian, he or she can show you how to squeeze the anal glands and make sure that you kind of squeeze them from inside out, almost like if you're milking a cow. If you ever milked a cow, that's what it feels like. You kind of squeeze the gland and it'll express the fluid, the liquid. Now, if there's any blood or if the discharge is really thick, that is a sign that the anal glands may be problematic and that you should be seeing a veterinarian. So once again, remember that the less frequently you need to express the anal glands, the better. If your dog at the 6-month exam is absolutely fine, there is no need to empty them and you can just do another exam 6 months later. Now, I mentioned surgery when I talked about drains, but I'm going to touch the topic one more time because I find that most dogs do not need surgery when they have anal gland infection. And when they have anal gland abscess, some of them do and some of them don't. So it's super important to discuss it with your veterinarian, maybe try to select the most conservative options and see whether you can treat your dog's anal gland issue non-surgically. In some situations, it's very clear that your dog has to go in a surgery right away. But in other situations, I would really try to converse or discuss this with your veterinarian. Most veterinarians will try to choose the least traumatic route of treatment, but I have seen some colleagues actually choosing surgery just because they can charge extra fee $100, right? So you have to be really on guard when it comes to choosing a veterinarian that you can trust, making sure that you're well informed and educated and that you ask questions. And when it comes to surgery, I would say 2/3 of dogs probably can be treated without surgical intervention when it comes to anal gland infection or abscess. And the rest, you just have to trust your veterinarian that he or she is making the best possible suggestion. When it comes to more natural approach to treatment and prevention of anal gland issues, the first thing that I want to emphasize is that you need to inform yourself and be well educated about the conventional approaches because it'll kind of give you an opportunity to compare and also understand the whole issue and how a conventional veterinarian may think and how a holistic veterinarian may think. When it comes to natural treatment and prevention, my goal is always to reduce the side effect causing or pain causing elements of the treatment. And because I like to push the limit over the years, I learned that most of the conventional treatments don't need to be used. However, in some situations, antibiotics may be needed if there is an infection that is resilient and doesn't respond to the anal gland drainage and flushing. Or surgery may be needed, or drain may be needed. But as I said, those interventions are much less frequently needed than most people would believe. No matter if your dog has already suffered anal gland issue or if he's in the process of having it treated or if you just want to prevent anal gland problems, diet is super important. Nature knows exactly what kind of food your dog needs, which means organs, meat, bones, and some plant material. If you feed kibble that is stored on the shelf for 6, 12 months, or maybe even longer, it will affect your dog the same way processed food affects our body and our system. So the first thing that you need to do is to create diet change. And I have recorded a very brief course on natural diet feeding, whether it's cooked or raw. And we are in the process of launching a recipe maker, dog food recipe maker. So if you are listening to this recording in July 2019 or later, you can go on the website and search for dog food recipe maker at peterdobias.com. Again, I'm not going to go into details of raw diet feeding here, but you can take the course. Exercise can positively or negatively affect your dog's anal glands. If your dog is very active and if he or she swims frequently, if you use frisbees to exercise your dog, or if your dog loves to chase the ball, or there is a high intensity exercise of any kind, like running along a bike or something like that, your dog may be too stressed, his back or his muscles may be too tight, and that will affect the energy flow to the anal glands from the lumbar sacral area. So remember that the right exercise is a variety of exercise, something that dogs would do if they were living in the wild. They would be running, they would chase only for a very few seconds or a minute, but generally they would more roam and walk and trot and play. So that's the best exercise. But as I said, high intensity exercise is not as beneficial for dogs. And this is something that many people don't remember. They go to the park and they would throw the ball until their dog drops. And this is not the right exercise. It can cause a lot of problems with the muscles and back of the area that does affect anal glands. So remember, healthy exercise is the most important part. And there are also some articles on my website at peterdobias.com. If you type in exercise in the search window, there will be a few articles coming up. So what can one do if you want to prevent the use of antibiotics, or if you don't want your dog to go through surgery or get a drain? Over the years, I have formulated a solution which I call skin spray. And skin spray can be used for anything that needs to heal on the skin or part of the skin, which anal glands are part of the skin. So what I usually do, if there is an abscess or anal gland inflammation, I would squeeze them if necessary. I would empty the anal glands, and then I would insert a little catheter in the opening of the anal gland, and I would use skin spray diluted 50% with saline and flush the anal gland. Now, this may need to be done several times, maybe once every 24, 48 hours in the first 3 days, and then you can just observe the anal glands and see if they have healed and if the inflammation goes down or not. Now, this is not a procedure that I would recommend you trying to do at home, but you can work with your veterinarian. Maybe he or she can use skin spray or a similar herbal solution. You can just go to peterdobias.com and look at skin spray and look at the ingredients. We do use skin spray for not only anal glands, but also for other skin healing. Now, the good part of skin spray is that it does include some ingredients such as witch hazel, which reduces bleeding and inflammation, and it also reduces the swelling. There is calendula, there is hydrustus, and those are also good for addressing inflammation and healing in the area. So if you are interested, you can just go on our website, peterdobias.com, and learn a little more about an alternative to traditional antibiotics and disinfectants. The second last area that I would like to talk about when it comes to natural treatment and prevention are supplements. Now, when it comes to any diet these days, we know that soils are depleted, and this depletion projects or transfers into our food and our dog's food, no matter whether you feed kibble or natural food. There are 37 trillion chemical reactions happening in your dog's body and in your body every second. Now, this is a lot. And without the appropriate building blocks, your dog's body cannot function. It cannot detox properly. The liver cannot function properly, digestive tract, and also the anal glands. So what I usually suggest is that if you want to keep your dog healthy, I've developed a system of supplementation that is reliable, and I can just go through the supplements right here. Green Mint is an algae-based mineral support. It doesn't have only minerals, but it also has amino acids, and those two are essential for healthy metabolism, healthy organs, healthy cells in your dog's body. Dogs cannot make minerals, they cannot make amino acids, and that's why it is super important to provide them in a supplement. Now, vitamins are another kind of topic that I'm really interested in and have been for a long time. Most vitamins on the market are synthetic, and they're not absorbed by the body the same way as whole food-based or food-based vitamins. Now, acknowledging vitamin and nutrient depletion of our food, the best way to provide vitamins is to give vitamins that are cultured on natural media. Now, these are very different from the synthetic vitamins because the body recognizes them as food. So it is super important for you to read your vitamin labels. You can also go to our website at peterdobias.com and look up soul food, see what other people say, and learn more about whole food based vitamins. Now, soul food is also USDA certified organic, which is very rare on the market. And I have worked super hard on this particular supplement. I take it myself, believe it or not, and I also do take green mint because I know that when it comes to real food, it is the same for animals and people. It's only when products are synthetic we need to distinguish and recognize the differences. But basic minerals, basic vitamins are the same for dogs and people. We just use different doses. Now, the next one is GutSense, and GutSense is certified organic probiotic formula for dogs. We know that dogs have very different probiotic bacteria in their body, in their system, than humans. So we should not be giving them human-based probiotics. I have added some other ingredients to balance digestion and bowel movements and make sure that your dog's digestive tract is super healthy. Now, digestive tract in the colon harbors 80% of the immune system function. Now, this is super important to remember because if your dog does not have healthy gut, it means that he or she does not have healthy immune system. The last supplement that I suggest is omega oil, omega-3 oil. Omega-3s are the most important omegas. Omega-6 and 9s are very abundant in your dog's diet, especially if you feed natural food. But omega-3s are missing. And we have come up with a formula that is made of calamari. It is not only tested heavy metal free, but it is also sustainable because calamari have been increasing in numbers because there are fewer fish in the oceans. So the fish does not eat as much calamari, and therefore the numbers have been increasing. Now, these are the essentials, the four: the mineral and amino acid support, green mint, soul food, certified organic vitamin, GutSense, which is the probiotic, and omega-3s. Now, there's also liver support that you should be giving to a dog that already has anal gland problems, whether it's anal gland inflammation or abscess. And if you go on our website and you go for liver support or liver supplements, there will be one supplement that we recommend. In the process of this recording, we are kind of creating a little bit of a change in the liver support. So please go to our website and look up liver supplement. And that's about it. Just make sure that part of the holistic treatment will be a visit to a chiropractor or physiotherapist to make sure that your dog's back is healthy and that you're exercising the right way, you're feeding your dog the right diet. If your dog is inflamed or abscess anal glands, that you use something that is natural and you try to reduce the use of antibiotics, surgery, drain, and you squeeze the anal glands not too frequently. Now, if you have any questions, if you want to learn more details, I've also written an article on anal glands. You can find it at peterdobias.com. I thank you for watching this video, and I also thank you for caring for and loving your dog because I know that you wouldn't be here if you didn't. Thank you so much. Give your dog a hug for me, and I'll see you at another occasion. Take care. Bye.